Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Eatling, and today is April 29th. April is nearly over, and before it slips away, here are words from the American poet Sara Teasdale from her collection Flame and Shadow. How many million Aprils came before I ever knew how white a cherry bough could be? A bed of squills, how blue. And many a dancing April, when life is done with me, will lift the blue flame of the flower and the white flame of the tree. Oh, burn me with your beauty then, oh, hurt me, tree and flower, lest in the end death try to take even this glistening hour. Oh, shaken flowers, oh, shimmering trees, oh, sunlight white and blue, wound me, that I through endless sleep may bear the scar of you. Well, we've definitely added another April to our lives this year. Yet how many come and go without us stopping to notice what this month offers in the garden? And yes, flowering bulbs are a delight, but only if we plant them in the fall. That's why spring requires trust. Because the beauty we're seeing now was set in motion months ago by hands in cool soil that simply believed the season would come. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1798 that the Scottish botanist George Donne was born at Dhu Hillock in Forfar, Scotland. Botany was the family trade. His father, also George Donne, served as the principal gardener at the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh, and his younger brother David would become a professor of botany. But the elder George Donne's obsession with rare plants came at a cost. 9 or 10 of his 15 children died young, and the family teetered on the edge of poverty, sometimes even relying on the kindness of neighbors just to eat. Yet George still grew up in gardens. First, he apprenticed at Dickinson's nursery near Edinburgh before he eventually moved south for work in London. By 18, George was a foreman at the Chelsea Physic Garden. He was not an indoor botanist. He was a field man. His hands were rough, his skin sun-darkened, and he trusted soil more than conversation. In 1821, the Royal Horticultural Society sent George abroad as their second professional plant collector. His ship was the Iphigenia, and the destinations were difficult: Sierra Leone, Brazil, and the West Indies. On the Gold Coast in modern Ghana, George encountered the miraculous berry, Syncephalum dulcificum, a fruit famous for turning sour flavors sweet. But beyond the plants, George recorded something just as important: how the native people in Africa and the Americas actually use the plants in their daily lives. Unfortunately, by the time George returned home, he felt that the Royal Horticultural Society had grossly underpaid him. And although George was no stranger to poverty, he clearly knew the value of his work. So instead, George published his findings independently, which in the end cost him his position, but it didn't stop his work. George's great project, a general system of gardening and botany, eventually filled 4 volumes between 1831 and 1838. In it, George attempted something audacious: to describe every known plant on Earth. Along the way, George also specialized in allium, the onion family, and combretum, the bush willows. George even updated John Loudon's Encyclopedia of Plants. And among the species George named was Catharanthus roseus, the pink periwinkle, still tucked into our modern garden beds every summer. George Donne never married, and when he died in Kensington in 1856, his great botanical book remained unfinished. George was buried back home in Scotland at Forfar, where his love for plants began. Today, George and his father are commemorated together in the plant hunter's garden at Pitlochry. 2 generations, both named George Donn, gardeners who gave their life to plants. And it was on this day in 1869 that the American botanist Agnes Chase was born. Agnes was small, just under 5 feet tall, and she weighed 98 pounds. Agnes spent nearly 70 years studying one of the largest plant families on Earth, grasses. Her life began in difficulty, and she grew up poor in Chicago. At 18, Agnes married William Ingram Chase, but within a year, he was dead. And suddenly, Agnes was left with grief and debt. For a time, she survived only on beans and bread. By day, Agnes proofread newspapers, and by night, she studied botany. Still, Agnes never finished high school. Yet she still possessed 2 powerful tools: sharp eyes and stubborn persistence. When Agnes began illustrating for the USDA, her drawings caught the attention of Albert Speer Hitchcock, the nation's leading grass expert. That's how Albert became her mentor, though eventually Agnes became his equal. Together they wrote The North American Species of Panicum, and later the definitive manual of the grasses of the United States. And when Albert died, Agnes took his place. She headed the Department of Systematic Agristology at the USDA and oversaw the Smithsonian's National Herbarium grass collection. During her career, the Smithsonian did not fund fieldwork for women, so Agnes ended up paying her own way. She traveled to Puerto Rico, Brazil, and Venezuela, climbing mountains, wading marshes, and once even spraining an ankle in a Brazilian swamp. Still, Agnes kept going. She collected tens of thousands of specimens and documented more than 500 new grass species in Brazil alone. In 1922, her book, The First Book of Grasses, translated the complex structure of grasses into language any curious person could read and understand. Agnes was also a tremendous mentor. She regularly welcomed young women into her home that she called Casa Contenta, or the happy house. Agnes eagerly helped young female scientists navigate the scientific world. Back in her Smithsonian office, Agnes had one surprise. She was allowed to keep a small companion, Toodles, a rescued squirrel. As Agnes worked, Toodles often perched on her shoulder or slept in her pocket. That was Agnes, the woman who changed American botany with a squirrel asleep in her coat. Agnes said the grass family held the world together, and she spent 70 years proving it. When Agnes Chase died in 1963 at 94 years old, she left us with a name for every blade of grass beneath our feet. These spring days, my thoughts drift to Agnes when the morning grass is still wet with dew, or when I smell cut grass in the afternoon, or when I hear the grasses rustle in the wind. I love the way Agnes saw grass, not as a nuisance or as something lowly, but as the thing holding the world together in all the places water and snow haven't covered. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear an excerpt from the Greek poet Constantine P. Cavafy, born on this day, April 29th, in 1863. Constantine spent most of his life in Alexandria, Egypt, a civil servant by day, a poet by necessity. Here's an excerpt from Constantine's poem called Morning Sea. Let me stop here, let me to look at nature a while. The brilliant blue of the morning sea, of the cloudless sky, the yellow shore, all lovely, all bathed in light. I read those words, and I think Constantine wasn't asking for much. Just a moment to stop. Just the blue and the light and the shore. And I think of that line, "Let me stop here," every time I walk past the garden without going in. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Gardener's Mindset by Stephen Orr. This book is part of Modern Masters Week here on The Daily Gardener, and that means all of this week's book recommendations feature contemporary voices who are shaping how we garden today. Stephen writes less about plants themselves and more about how gardeners think. Stephen looks at the habits that shape a gardener's life: curiosity, patience, and restraint, and the quiet willingness to try something, watch it fail, and try again. Instead of asking, "What should I plant?" Stephen asks, "How do I see?" Light, repetition, and editing, the ways a garden changes as the gardener does. Stephen writes about his first garden on a New York City rooftop, rearranging pots of old roses and herbs by pure beginner's instinct. And he also writes about his current garden on Cape Cod, where he is learning to grow things resilient enough to survive dry, sandy soil and dramatic coastal storms. The road to great gardening, Stephen says, is littered with dead plants, and he wants to help you think your way through it. It's the kind of book you read slowly, not because it's difficult, but because it makes you pause. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 2017 that the Tucson plantsman Ron McBain left his earthly garden just days before his 90th birthday. For years, Ron arranged flowers at his shop called The Plantsman. Weddings, funerals, and ordinary Tuesdays all received the same gentle care. As he grew old, when his knees would no longer kneel in the soil, his body began to set its own limits, but Ron never left the flowers. Instead, he began to paint, filling large canvases with endless blooms. When asked how Ron could paint so well, so late in life, he said, "I imagine I'm in the flower shop and arrange on canvas the way I would in a vase. The joy fills me so much, I wouldn't want to do anything else." The spring before he died, a solo exhibition was planned, and the paintings were hung. But then in late April, Ron suffered a stroke, and then he was gone. The happening opened without him. Quietly, friends gathered beneath the paintings of flowers that would never wilt or need watering. Ron never stood in that room, but every canvas on those walls was arranged with the same hands, the same eye, and the same joy he brought to every Tuesday at the Plantsman. And his painted flowers outlasted him, the way they always do, for the people who love them most. As we close the show today, remember Sara Teasdale's request when she asked April to wound her, to mark her with something she could not undo. And April did, with the white of cherry blossom and the blue of squill. Blossoms so beautiful, they don't ask for permission. Beauty like that never asks permission. It arrives in the middle of everything, mid-task, mid-season, mid-ordinary Tuesday. And whatever mark this April has left on you, even the faintest trace of light, that belongs to you now, too. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.